Shalom everyone. So today I'm going to continue reading from a book called Travels in North Africa by Noam Slouch. And today I just want to start off with a forward about his 10-year travel throughout North Africa, searching for the Black Jews of Africa. So anyways, it goes on to say the present volume, meaning the book that I'm reading from, Travel to North Africa, is the result of 10 years of travel among the Jews of Africa and much of the study and research into their history, ethnograph. Thanks to the French occupation, the second half of the last century saw the rise of a movement to revive scientific research into African history with special reference to classical antiquity and medieval Berber and Arab world. My studies having led me by chance in 1905 to take up as a Hebrew scholar the history of the Jews of Morocco on the aspect of scientific mission of Morocco. I was struck by the great importance of the problem of the ethnic and historic origin of the various groups of African Jews. Little attention had been paid to this problem, but I saw that the study of the question might well throw new light on the origin and history of Judaism throughout the whole Mediterranean basin. On taking into consideration the conclusion reached by general African research, I realized that the special condition peculiar to Africa and the scarcity of documents was sufficient to discourage the most zealous and historical adventurer. I saw that only one course was open to me: to follow the example of all the historians of Africa and to undertake a series of voyages across northern Africa, visiting the persons, locality of historical interest and collecting historical evidence, both documentary and traditional, touching on the life and custom of the Jews of Africa. So today I'm going to be reading from a chapter 4, and it's talking about the Morocco Jews, Algeria Jews, and a little more about also the Berber, the Berber Jews. So the title of this chapter is chapter 4, and it's called Joshua Ben News in Africa. So we're talking about Joshua, the actual Joshua in the Old Testament. When Moses died, he took over and led the children to the promised land. So this is the Joshua they're talking about. So anyway, it goes on to say the mountainous region which stretches from oh, my throat stretches from to listen to the mountains and to the plain of the river Mawiya form a part of the Atlas of Morocco. Before the French occupation, thus district was Morocco in character. Destined by its geographical position to be a buffer state between Morocco and the King of Algeria, this country has preserved its ethnic independence down to our own time. So we're going to go and look at the map where you find Morocco and the kings of Algeria. So this is Morocco here. This is Algeria. So you're talking about in this area. In this particular map I'm looking at is from the book called The Lost Tribe, a Myth by Alan Godbey. So on this map he indicates that all the letters in red are Jewish colonies found across Africa during that time of 640 BC. They were there 700 BC. They're there during around 1100 to 700 BC. Talking about Black Jews. 800 BC, also during the time of Alexander, and also during the time of Solomon time. It is true that in the coast town the Arab dominates, but in the interior, particularly in the mountains, the native Berber has maintained his liberty and his individuality against all invader. It is in this district that we shall find groups of people which have survived from ancient times. Here we shall find folklores and tradition which have passed unaltered through generation after generation for many centuries. So right here is talking about the Berber has maintained his liberty and his individuality against all invaders. All the invaders that came through, they still held their culture and their identity. So we're going to go here and look at the Berber. The Berber Jews he's speaking of would be the Berber Jews and black Jews here, the Berber Jews in this area. And all of these are colonies of Jewish tradition and Jewish colonies. Had colonies set here in Africa, black African Jews. Here in this area, the black Jews, Berber black Jews. Then it goes, it is in this district that we shall find groups of people which have survived from ancient time. Here we shall find folklore and tradition which have passed unaltered through generation after generation for many centuries. Now I want to read something from Titus, because Paul was talking about folklore, and this is in Titus 1 verse 14, and this is Paul talking to Titus, which he sent Titus into Crete to gather elders and then to appoint them among the cities in Crete to teach the people. So he goes on to warn Titus. It says, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. So let me just go up a little further. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of circumcision, whose mouth must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. One of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said, the Cretans are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. 13. This witness is true, wherefore rebuke them. Paul's telling Titus, rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. So fables of men, Jewish fable or Yehudian fables, still the same as folklores. So Paul was even warning them about these traditions that they were, I guess they're stories, just stories that they made up, or just stories that was among the tribes, and they just passed it on from generation to generation. It is a cycle of tradition woven in ancient biblical character. See, so they take a story and weave their tradition into it, and that's why they call them a fable and folklore. The founder of the Judean people, Joshua, the son of Nun. It says, by what historical miracle has the name of this general, talking about Joshua, who, after all, occupies only the second place in Yehudian tradition, penetrated to a country which placed opposite the pillar of Hercules, is so distant from the Holy Land. It says, in a book of ours devoted to the scientific theory, we have attempted some explanation of this phenomenon. In this work, which is nothing more than a collection of facts and observations, we can only present evidence which supports our theory, however startling the conclusion itself. But before we deal with the legend of Joshua ben Nun, it seems best to review here a number of historic traditions which have their origin in earliest antiquity. These traditions will place the legend of Joshua ben Nun in a more interesting light, for it is certain that they are almost as old as the Phoenician colonization of Africa and have always been known in the country. Here is an old Hebrew tradition that at times of the conquest of the Holy Land by the Israelites under Joshua the son of Nun, certain Canaanites tribe migrated to Africa. Canaanite Palestine. And right across here is Egypt, Nubia, Arabia Desert over here. One Tosefta, quoting an older source, says that when Joshua approached Canaan or Palestine, he told the inhabitant that three courses were open to them. They could either leave the country, number one, or they could sue for peace, number two, or they could declare war against him. That was their final option. Then it goes on to say, the Girgashites, among others, preferred to withdraw into Africa and said they weren't going to fight Joshua. Not that warrior. It wasn't going to go against Josh. It says the Tosefta goes on to say that the Amorites, the Kadmoni, the Canaanites, and the Kenizzites, some of whom figure among the founder of Carthage, who went to Africa. These traditions date from a period when communication between Africa and the Phoenician was continuous, so they continuous relationship. The proper name of the Girgash and Kenaz are often to be met with in the Carthaginian inscription. It goes on to say the Talmud says that the Canaanites in Africa asked Alexander the Great to restore to them their country which they had been taken from their ancestor. So here we find Alexander the Great. Here's Palestine. If you know, there was the Hamites tribes that surrounded this area, and Joshua not ran out all of them, but most of them out that land. So they're asking their ally Alexander to help them to recover their land that Joshua took from them. Okay, so these are historical facts. It says the Talmud, Joshua's ancestor by Joshua. Then it goes on to say these traditions found a place in the books of Jubilee. So talking about the Canaanites and their area, what was given to them, and that comes out of Jubilee, chapter 9, starting at verse 1. It says, the subdivision of the three portion among the grandchildren of Noah, among Ham children, Shem and Japheth, oath taken by Noah's sons. So it was an oath that they would, the land that Noah gave them, they took an oath that that's the land they would inhabit. We know that's not the case today. So it says, and Ham divided among the sons, and the first portion came forth from Cush, towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, or Egypt. Because Egypt is called Mizraim, Mizraim is Egypt. And to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him, and to the west thereof on the sea for Canaan. Here, Egypt, Canaan. I'm thinking Put is either up in here somewhere. Maybe it's Nubia. It says, okay, and then goes on to tell about Shem. Shem was divided among his sons, and the first portion came forth Elam, and his son to the east of the Tigris River, to the Tigris till it approached the east, and the whole land of India and the Red Sea. So this is Shem area here, India and the Red Sea. I guess Tigris probably around here somewhere. It looked like T maybe for Tigris. So you know, he had several sons too. I'm not going to go through all of them. And it tells Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance among his sons, and the first portion came forth for Gomer. to the east of the north side to the river Tina, Magog, Media. Yeah, Media. So, anyways, I'm not at the island. So it was the coastal islands that was there. That's why they call them the Gentiles. That's in Genesis chapter 9, or nations. Really, what Gentile can mean too. So then it goes on to say, I think I'm going to stop right here at the end here. It says that these traditions have found a place in the books of Jubilee and of Enoch. They have been ratified by the fathers of the church. Thus, St. Jerome calls to witness the Talmud to support this statement that the Girgashites established colonies in Africa, which was the Hamitic people, which came from Ham, which was in the land of Palestine. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. Then I want to go to a scripture. But before I go to the scripture, I want to go to this map. Now we know that, talked about Morocco, Algeria, mainly Chad. These countries here in this area is getting ready to go to have a war, West Africa war. And the reason I believe there's going to be an actual war is because the Westerners are not going to back off from those resources. They've been taking them for hundreds of years, so why would they back off now? So they will kill. If they steal, they will kill for it. So we need to keep our people in prayer, and also the leaders here in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, that strong young Ibrahim. Keep him in prayer because they're really trying to take him out. But I'm not worried about that because the Most High is raising his people up to battle. The Bible says that Israel is as the sand of the sea, and we're scattered all over Africa and the diaspora in the four corners of the earth. So it's talking about the dry bones that he's waking up right now. He's waking them up spiritually, and he's waking them up physically as well, and mentally. So there's a battle. He's gathering his army to battle, and that's his army is his people. And I'm gonna read that in Ezekiel 37. So I'm gonna go there now because this is a war against God's people, and he ain't gonna have it. You better rest assured that one. So let's go to Ezekiel 37. We're going to read the first section is about the valley of the dry bones. And listen to this, y'all, very closely, because this is talking about God's people up in Africa and throughout the diaspora, because we're just waking up all over the place. And it's the dry bones that he's waking up. It says, Yahuwah took hold of me. This is Ezekiel speaking. And I was carried away by the spirit of Yahuwah to a valley filled with bones. A valley filled with bones, a country, a continent, the four corners filled with bones. He led me all around among the bones that covered the valley floor. They were scattered everywhere, meaning they was in the four corners of the earth, not just in a valley. He's talking about the world, not just a valley. They were scattered everywhere across the ground and were completely dried out. Just no hope. Not seeing a way out of it, just depressed, oppressed, downtrodden, lifeless almost. Then he asked me, Son of man, can these bones become living people again? Can they live again? Can they physically, mind be awakened? Can their body be awakened? Can their spirit be awakened again, that they may be a whole people again? O sovereign Yahuwah replied, you alone. O sovereign Lord Yahuwah, I replied, you alone know the answer to that. Then he said to me, speak a prophetic message to these bones and say, dry bones, listen to the word of Yahuwah. This is what the sovereign Yahuwah says. Look, I am going to put breath into you and make you live again. So at one time they were spiritually, emotionally, physically dead, just lifeless. I will put flesh and muscles on you and cover you with skin. I will breathe into you and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am Yahuwah. So I spoke this message. So Ezekiel saying he's speaking this message that the Yahuwah told him to speak to his people, the dry bones. Suddenly as I spoke, there was a rattling. He says, as soon as I spoke the word of the Most High, they start shaking. So, ooh, that voice sounds familiar. This power that's over us. Suddenly as I spoke, there was a rattling noise all across the valley, all across the world, in the four corners. You all watch this. It's going to talk about the four corners. The bones of each body came together. So each bone, each individual that the breath was breathed upon, remembered who they were or who they are, received that spirit of encouragement and hope. It says, so I spoke the message just as he told me. Suddenly, as I spoke, there was a rattling noise of all across the valley. The bones of each body came together and attached themselves as a complete skeleton. Then as I watched muscles and flesh form over the bones, the skin formed to cover their bodies, but they still had no breath in them. So they was awake, but they didn't know what to do. It was like they were still confused. Just a body and what, no breath, no life in you. It's kind of like, okay, where do we go from here? Then he said to me, speak a prophetic message to the winds. Not wind, but winds. Check this out. Son of man, speak a prophetic message and say, this is what Sovereign Yahuwah says. Come, O breath, from the four winds, from the four corners of the earth where he scattered his people, y'all. Breathe into these dead bodies so they may live again. So go into Africa. Go into the continent of Africa. Go to the four corners of the earth where my people have been scattered, and breathe the four winds. Breathe the life back into them again, that they may live again. We were once alive, you all, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, militarily. We were alive people. We were a striving people. So I spoke the message as commanded me, and breath came into their bodies. They all came to life and stood up on their feet, a great army. This is the Most High's army he talks about in the Word. This is his army that he says that a battle axe, they will be his battle axe. And it's in Isaiah, I think it's 25. Talks about the battle axe. He's going to be using his people to punish these nations. That's what they're scared of, y'all. It says, then he said to me, and it's not a joke, seriously though, a great army. Did he not say that Israel is as the sand of the sea, unnumberable? Yes, he did. That's in Hosea, and also that's in the Romans as well. Then he said to me, son of man, these bones represent the people of Israel. They are saying, we have become old bones. All hope is gone. Our nation is finished. Therefore prophesy, he said to them. Tell them, no. This is what the Sovereign Yahuwah says. Oh, my people. Did he not say that at one time when we were separated, that he said they would no longer be my people? But then there's the time he's going to say they are my people, and we will say he is our God. Y'all, this time is coming. It's almost here. Then he said to me, O son of man, these bones represent the people of Israel. They are saying, we have become old dry bones. All hope is gone. Our nation is finished. Therefore prophesy to them and say, this is what the Sovereign Yahweh says. O my people, I will open your graves of exile, meaning where he has scattered us, he's going to make a way for us to return and cause you to rise again. We were once a great nation, a great battle people that went to war, people that were serious about the Lord's work. Then I will bring you back to the land of Israel. When this happened, O my people, you will know that I am Yahuwah. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live again and return home to your own land. Then you will know that I, Yahuwah, has spoken, and I have done what I said. Yes, Yahuwah has spoken. He said when his word go forth out of his mouth, that it would accomplish that he sent it out to do. So in other words, Lord said he don't lie. Once he speak out something, it's going to happen. It may not be in our time, but it's going to happen. We just need to trust that it is. So I just want to read the rest of this. Talks about the reunion of Israel and Judah. 15 says, again, a message came to me from Yahuwah, son of man, take a piece of wood and carve it on these words. This represents Judah and his allied tribes. Then take another piece and carve these words on it to represent Ephraim and the northern tribe of Israel. So we're talking about Judah the southern, Israel or Ephraim the northern. Now hold them together in your hand as they were one piece of wood. Then your people ask you what your action mean. What does this action mean? Say to them, Yahweh says, this is what sovereign Yahweh says. I will take Ephraim and the northern tribes and join them to Judah. I will make them one piece of wood in my hand. Then hold out the piece of wood you have inscribed so the people can see them, and give them this message from sovereign Yahuwah. I will gather the people of Israel from among the nations. I will bring them home to their own land from the places where they have been scattered. So 4 winds, he called the 4 winds, the breath, to breathe into his people in those 4 corners of the earth, and that's why we're waking up today, you all. 22, I will unify them into one nation on the mountain of Israel. One king will rule them all. No longer will they be divided into 2 nations or into 2 kingdoms. Remember he said that happened in First King, I think, talks about when Rehoboam and his brother was the king of each one of the nations, the southern and northern kingdom. He said he's going to bring them back together. 23, they would never again pollute themselves with their idols and vile images and rebellion. For I will save them from their sinful apostasy. I will cleanse them. Then they will truly be my people, and I will be their God, or their Elohim. My servant Dawid will be their king, and they will only have one shepherd. They will obey my regulations and be careful to keep my decrees. They will live in the land I gave my servant Jacob, the land where their ancestors lived. They and their children and their grandchildren after them would live there forever, generation after generation. And my servant Dawid will be their prince forever. And I will make a covenant with a peace with them, an everlasting covenant. I will give them their land and increase their numbers, and I will put my temple among them, or his sanctuary, among them forever. And that hasn't happened because this is a future prophecy. That's what I said, we are in the end. The Most High getting ready to restore his people. I will make my home among them. I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people. And when my temple is among them, or my sanctuary is among them forever, the nations, check this out, y'all, then the nation will know and see and know that I am Yahuwah, who makes his people Israel holy again. So you all be encouraged. The Most High is about to do his thing. We need to just sit back and let him use this great army that he's accumulating, because he said Israel is as the sand of the sea. And I want to go to the last scripture, and then I'm going to close. So this is found in let's go to Hosea. So let me go to Hosea. The book of Hosea. I think that's Hosea. What does that say? Hosea. Maybe it's 1. Oh, it is 1 right here. It should pass. Oh, come on now. Stop it, Ernestine. Okay, hold on, y'all. Just hold for a minute. I'm sorry. It's found in Hosea 1:10. Yeah, I was just there. Where did I see it? Oh, here it is. Okay, yes, it says, yet the number of Israel, the children of Israel, and this is Hosea 1:10, yet the number of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto ye, ye are the sons of the living God. And that's what he was saying in Ezekiel 37 at the very end, that we would say, he would say, we are his people, and we would say he is our God. Now I'm gonna go to that's also mentioned again in Romans. Let's see. Romans 9:24, I think it is. Let me go there. Romans 9:24. Yeah, this says 27. It says 26, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people. This is Paul just quoting what Hosea 1:10 says. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. That was in Hosea 1:10 that I read earlier. This is in Romans 9:26 and 27 says, Isaiah also cried concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. And that was found in Isaiah 10:22. For though thou my people of Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decree and shall overflow with righteousness. So Paul is just repeating what the prophet said in the Old Testament, and that's what Paul did. So anyways, that's a whole different story. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this, and I hope you all receive some understanding or just learn something, because I know I do all the time. So I say so long and have a blessed evening.